After the 5th time the wedding was postponed by my fiancé, I didn't scream at him like I usually did. Instead, I called Manhattan's most exclusive moving company and had them box up every single one of my personal belongings. Silently, thoroughly, I cut ties with the last 5 years of my life. Day 1, I called New York's top wedding planner and canceled the late KO ceremony we had booked 2 years ago, the one he kept pushing back. Day 2, I logged into my Chase account, canceled every automatic payment I had personally authorized for his mother's Hamptons Beach house, and instructed my attorney to begin the formal process of removing my guarantee from the mortgage. I froze the joint trust account we used, specifically to pay his family's bills. At the same time, I can-led the corporate credit card linked to his sister's Uber and high-end delivery apps. Day 3, I officially replied to the recruiter from his rival company, Vanguard Global. I accepted their offer for the global VP of public relations position and started planning my move to their LA headquarters next month. As I sat in first class on my way to LA to sign the contract, a flight attendant handed me a glass of champagne. Staring out at the clouds, I couldn't help but find it ironic. I was even a little curious. Without me, his invisible investor and on-call crisis PR manager for the past 5 years. Without me, his fiancé and partner who believed in him unconditionally and provided an unlimited line of credit. Who is he? Julian Walker, the celebrated CEO making waves in Silicon Valley with his self-made visionary persona. How is he going to maintain his mother's ridiculously expensive Hamptons house? How is he going to deal with that insufferably vain sister of his? What would he use to please the co-founder he cherished so much, Vanessa Holt? Miss Serena, regarding the cancellation of the late Koa wedding package. According to the exclusive contract we signed 2 years ago, we must retain 30% of the deposit as a penalty. If you confirm, please sign on this tablet. Kelly, the planner, confirmed with me one last time before handing over the tablet, guiding me through the signature process. She was young, but she'd seen it all working with Manhattan's executive class. Right now, her exquisitely lined eyes were sparkling with unconcealed curiosity. She looked like she was bursting to say something. I could see why we had booked this top-tier wedding package in this very same luxurious office 2 years ago. We'd gone through the hassle of finalizing flower shipments, chartering yachts, and even flying out for on-site rehearsals at least 3 times, only for it all to come to nothing. To this day, the much-anticipated wedding had never happened. Instead, the bride was unilaterally canceling, willing to swallow a massive penalty fee. Anyone would be curious about what had happened between the couple Forbes once called the power couple of the tech world, but they didn't know it took me only 1 night to go from eagerly wanting to marry the man I'd been with for 5 years to calmly deciding to call it all off. The reason I was done, the reason I couldn't even be bothered to shed a single tear, was an electronic receipt Julian had left in the inbox of our shared tablet. Last week was our 5-year anniversary. I had canceled 2 international PR meetings a half month in advance, hopefully hinting to Julian that I wanted a proper celebration, just the 2 of us. After all, to help him through the toughest years of his startup, I had unhesitatingly turned down a spot at Stanford's Graduate School of Business to scrape together the bridge funding for a seed round. I had even missed my family's last Thanksgiving gathering before my father passed away. That night, Julian glanced up from his Apple laptop, which was covered in lines of code. He casually pulled open a drawer and tossed an expiring discount voucher for a spa onto the kitchen island without even lifting an eyebrow. Serena, Series B funding is about to close. I really don't have time for all that ceremonial. I don't really know what you're into. Anyway, you can probably use the spa package. Go relax. It's on me. And stop complaining that I don't spend time with you. His tone was casual, but it cut like a dull knife. Even then, I took a deep breath, tucked the wrinkled voucher into my planner, and didn't say a word of complaint. I thought he was just genuinely overwhelmed by the fundraising. Until last night, as I was organizing his financial statements in his study, I tripped over a vintage leather camera bag next to his solid wood desk. With a crash, the heavy bag hit the hardwood floor, and the M3 vintage camera inside shattered. The shutter curtain and lens were smashed to pieces. It was an heirloom from my father, a classic 1954 model. I cherished it so much that I never even let the housekeepers touch it. The loud crash got Julian's Attention! He rushed from the bedroom to the study. The first thing he did wasn't to check if I was cut by the glass, nor was it to bend down and look at the camera that meant the world to me. Instead, he stared at the scattered fragments and flew into an unusually furious rage. Serena, are you really this pissed that I didn't celebrate our anniversary properly? Do you have to act like some neglected, bitter housewife and kick things around everywhere? Why can't you be more mature like Vanessa and think about the big picture for the company instead of always causing trouble for me? Before I could even get a word of explanation out, Julian roughly told me to get the hell out of the study. I stood in the cold hallway for a long time, subconsciously apologizing over and over, only to be met with the sound of him slamming and locking the study door. The next morning, I carefully collected the camera's remains and took them to a professional repair shop in Manhattan for a repair estimate. When I got home, I casually opened the tablet Julian and I shared. As I was about to clear the cache, I accidentally clicked on his personal email inbox. At the very top was a purchase confirmation staring me in the face. The sender, one of New York's most prestigious auction houses. The item, a 1963 Rolex reference 16001. Date, just vintage watch. The price, $18.88. The recipient, Vanessa Holt. The most glaring part was the message Julian himself had typed in the notes section. I spent months tracking this watch down for you at auction. You only mentioned it once, but I never forgot. To my amazing co-founder, you deserve the best in the world. The email was sent on the afternoon of our 5-year anniversary. At first glance, it might seem like just a note of appreciation for a work partner, but I felt like I'd been hit in the face with a glass of ice-cold lemonade. My eyes stung, and my stomach turned. The priceless Leica my father left me, which the shop had quoted $3,000 to repair. He wouldn't even bend down to look at. He even accused me of being unreasonable. But an antique watch Vanessa had mentioned once offhandedly, he remembered it for months and dropped nearly $20,000 without blinking, telling her with deep sincerity that she deserved the best in the world. That kind of attention, that kind of special treatment. I, his fiancée, who had been with him from nothing to the verge of ringing the opening bell, who had given him everything and even sacrificed my own future, had never experienced it. These 5 years were nothing but a hollow American dream I had woven for myself. Now it was time to wake up and time to settle the accounts. I had just stepped out of the lavish wedding planners building when a message from Julian popped up on my phone. Chloe's flight lands at JFK at 10:30 tonight. Go pick her up and use your card to take her out for a nice meal. She's been complaining about how bad the first-class food is. It was the first message he'd sent since our disastrous fight last night. In the past, I would have been manipulated by this kind of gaslighting. I would have fooled myself into thinking this was his way of making up by giving me orders. Then I would have immediately canceled my executive conference call and driven to the airport's premium pickup area to cater to his demanding sister like some on-call personal assistant. But now I just found the words on the screen. Sickeningly arrogant. I stared at the screen for 2 seconds, feeling nothing. No reply, no explanation. I just tossed my phone onto the leather passenger seat and hit the gas, merging into the Manhattan traffic. That evening when I opened the door to Julian's upscale apartment, it was a disaster zone. Luggage was strewn everywhere, unopened. Amazon boxes littered the floor. A half-empty Starbucks cold brew was spilled on the expensive Persian rug. Chloe Walker emerged from the bathroom wearing a mud mask identical to the one atop influencer was promoting. The moment she saw me, she rolled her eyes dramatically, her tone as sharp as if she were scolding a subordinate. Serena, where the hell have you been? Do you have any idea how long I was freezing outside the terminal because you didn't show up? I had to call my own damn Uber Black. Hurry up and order me something from new on your corporate account. I want the black cod and the most expensive truffle omelet. Now I'm starving. This time I didn't rush to apologize and soothe her. I just crossed my arms and looked at her, my expression completely calm. I took out my phone right in front of her, hit send on a message, and then looked up, my voice colder than I'd ever used with her before. I've already texted your brother to let him know you're hungry. New isn't cheap, so you'd better hope his credit card isn't maxed out. You don't mind waiting? He'll get back to you eventually. He's in Silicon Valley after all. There's a time difference. Chloe froze, the mask on her face cracking. She probably never imagined that her ever-compliant backup bank account would dare to speak to her like that. She just stood there, stunned. I didn't waste another glance on her. I walked right past her mess and into the master bedroom to pack up the last of my things. The next morning, I was woken up by a series of loud, passive-aggressive crashes coming from outside my door. When I opened it, the expensive Calicotta marble island in the kitchen and the Persian rug in the living room looked like a war zone. Organic cereal and Caldress juice stains were everywhere. Seeing me fully dressed and holding my Momoa suitcase, Chloe showed no shame at all. Instead, she defiantly stomped on the Amazon bubble wrap scattered on the floor, making it pop loudly. I watched her childish attempt to get attention with cold eyes. This time, I didn't act like a people-pleasing, unpaid maid, grabbing paper towels and a mop to clean up her mess. I just calmly buttoned my coat, picked up my suitcase with one hand, and walked straight toward the door. Where are you going? Chloe seemed to realize something was wrong. She lunged forward, blocking the doorway with her body. I didn't even look at her, just gave a vague excuse. Business trip, 2 weeks. I have to stop by the office first. Chloe crossed her arms and sneered, her expression still dripping with that disgusting classist arrogance. Wow, you both have work. Julian is in Silicon Valley, giving a keynote speech at a tech summit as an industry visionary, and you're just some cog in the machine doing crisis PR for capitalists. By the way, I'm going to brunch with my friends at Soho House this afternoon. My annual membership just expired, so hurry up and renew it with your black card. If you don't, I'm calling my brother right now and telling him you're bullying me, watching her play the victim card so brazenly, demanding money like some kind of leech who was certain I couldn't escape our financial ties was just absurd, insane. For the past 5 years, I was trapped in this toxic, financially codependent relationship. To maintain Julian's phony elite image, I ended up supporting his entire boundary-stomping family like they were royalty. Now that I'd simply cut the one-way financial umbilical cord, they were acting like I had stepped on their tails. I suddenly looked down and let out a short, contemptuous laugh, then looked up. I raised a finger and poked her shoulder, my eyes raking over this clueless girl. Chloe, you listen to me, and you listen. Good. That beach house your mom has in the Hamptons. If I hadn't co-signed as a guarantor and covered the mortgage for 3 whole years, your entire family would have been foreclosed on and thrown out on the street by now. The seed money your brother used to start his company came from my personal trust account, the luxury high-rise you've been living in LA for the past 2 years. The rent was paid from my account. Even that Tesla you post on Instagram every day. The lease payments are charged to my American Express. I took a sharp step closer, watching the color drain from her face as the shock set in. I spoke, each word with brutal clarity. You're not some delicate tech princess. You're a charity case that I officially stopped funding today. The next time you even think about demanding money from me with that tone, you'd better check your own bank account and see how many zeros are in it first. Chloe's face turned beet red. Her lips trembled violently, but she couldn't utter a single word in her defense against the hard facts I'd just thrown at her. She whipped her head around and fled into the guest room like a cornered fraud whose illusions had been completely shattered, slamming the door shut behind her after taking a cab to my new high-rise apartment downtown and settling in with my luggage. A glaring notification popped up on my phone. It was a screenshot of a past due warning from Chase Bank, automatically forwarded from Julian's mother, Carol Walker. The massive monthly mortgage payment for the Hamptons house was due in 5 days and was about to go into default because I had canceled the automatic payments from my account the day before. Their family account didn't have nearly enough to cover it. I looked at the red alert on the screen. Without a moment's hesitation, I logged into my secure private banking dashboard and severed all authorized payment links to the Walker family's accounts, erasing every card authorization I had granted them. Let someone else be their family's personal ATM. As for this absurd, one-sided charity game, I was officially declaring it over today. The confirmation emails arrived one after another. Chloe Walker, authorized user, removed, recurring payment link, canceled, Soho House renewal blocked, Uber Black account unlin, delivery app, card removed, Tesla lease autopay, disabled, Carol Walker mortgage support, Authorization removed. Joint family bill. Account restricted. I sat in my new apartment with a cup of chamomile tea in front of me, watching 5 years of invisible labor vanish from a screen in less than 3 minutes outside the Florida. Ceiling windows, downtown Manhattan, glittered like nothing had happened. That was the strange thing about ending a life. The city did not pause. Cars still moved. Elevators still hummed. Somewhere someone was still making reservations at restaurants they could not afford for the first time in years. None of it was my problem. I opened my laptop and pulled up the Vanguard Global contract again. Global VP of Public Relations, Los Angeles headquarters. Full executive package relocation. Covered. Strategic authority in crisis. Communications, market positioning, executive visibility, and investor relations visibility. Thank you for listening to Channel Gold novel. I read that word twice. Julian had spent 5 years asking me to stand just far enough behind him that people could see the shine and never the source of the light. Vanguard wanted me at the table. My tea had barely cooled when the first call came. Chloe. I let it ring. Then came a text. Serena, what the hell did you do to my Uber? A second later, my Soho house renewal failed. Fix it. Then in all caps, answer me. I took one sip of tea. The next call came from Carol Walker. I ignored that one too. By the time Chloe called again, I was almost curious enough to answer. Almost. Instead, I watched the chaos unfold through messages, screenshots, and eventually social media, where Chloe had never known how to keep humiliation private. She had gone to Soho House that afternoon in oversized sunglasses, a cream cashmere sweater, and the careless confidence of a girl whose bills had always found their way to someone else's account. 3 friends were waiting. Champagne brunch photos by the window. A caption probably drafted before she even arrived. Then the membership desk asked for renewal. The card declined. Chloe laughed at first. Run it again. It failed again. Her friend Madison, whose private stories usually disappeared after 24 hours, posted just enough to be full. A blurred clip of Chloe whispering harshly to the receptionist, her manicured fingers tapping the counter. The stiff little smile that said she still believed embarrassment could be bullied away. Then her Uber black account failed outside. Then the Tesla app sent a payment warning. Then her delivery account logged her out. Funny how fast a princess becomes a pedestrian when the borrowed card stops working. She finally called from a number I did not recognize. I answered. That time, the background was noisy. Wind, traffic, Chloe breathing too hard. Turn the cards back on. No, you don't get to do this. I already did. This is insane. My membership renewal failed in front of everyone. Apologies. Don't renew memberships. Her silence was sharp enough to cut. I'm calling Julian. Good. He should finally learn how much his family costs. You bitter psycho. I looked around my clean apartment at the suitcases still unopened by the bedroom door, at the Vanguard contract glowing on my screen. No, Chloe. I'm just no longer your payment method. I ended the call. Carol lasted 2 hours before her dignity cracked. Her first voicemail sounded like she was speaking from a charity gala instead of financial panic. Serena, darling, Chase seems to have made some ridiculous error with the Hamptons account. I'm sure you'll fix it before the penalty applies. The second voicemail came 12 minutes later. Serena, I know you and Julian are having one of your dramatic little moments, but mortgages are not toys. The third came after she tried calling the private banking line and learned she had no authority over anything tied to my accounts. Her voice lost the pearls. After everything this family gave you, I answered before she could finish the fourth call. Carol, the only thing your family gave me was invoices. A pause. Then a breath, thin and furious. You cannot possibly intend to let the beach house go into default. I intend to let the person who enjoys the beach house pay for it. Julian will hear about this. I hope he does. You are going to be family. No, Carol. I was a payment plan with a ring. She inhaled so sharply I could almost picture her hand flying to her chest. You can't do this to family. I was never family. I was your payment plan. Then I hung up. In Silicon Valley, Julian was preparing for a keynote about visionary leadership. I knew because I had written the first draft of that speech 3 months ago. He had hated the phrase disciplined ambition and wanted something more electric. I had rewritten it after midnight while he slept on the couch, one hand still resting on his Laptop like a founder in a magazine. Profile. Now he stood backstage in a navy suit, ready to talk about grit, sacrifice, and self-made excellence. While his phone detonated in his pocket. Chloe screaming about the cards. Carol panicking over Chase. Kelly confirming the late Como cancellation and the retained penalty. Reporters asking whether the wedding was officially off. Board members asking why the family trust account had been restricted. Vanessa texting about investor questions. I saw the clip that night. Julian stepped onto the stage with the same confident smile that had once made venture capitalists lean forward. The room applauded. He adjusted his microphone. Cameras flashed. Then a reporter near the front called out, Mr. Walker is a true Serena canceled the late Como wedding. Half a second. That was all. His smile held, but his eyes froze. Half a second of silence from a man famous for never missing a beat. The clip went viral before he left the stage. By evening, Vanessa made her own mistake. She posted a photo from the summit reception. Black dress, champagne. Flute the 1963 Rolex date just on her wrist. Turned just enough for the camera to catch it. The caption read, grateful to work beside a founder who remembers the details. I stared at it for a long moment. Then I laughed softly, not because it was funny, because people who are used to being chosen often forget that receipts exist. The auction purchase confirmation was not public yet, but the watch had a history, a price, and a trail. One tech gossip account noticed the reference number. Within an hour, another found the auction listing. Someone else connected the date. Then a former event planner posted that the same date had been Julian and Serena's 5th anniversary. By midnight, the internet had built the timeline I did not have to write. Julian Walker bought co-founder Vanessa Holton $18,088 vintage Rolex on his 5th anniversary. Serena allegedly received an expiring spa voucher. Wedding postponed 5 times. Lake Como canceled. Serena leaves for Vanguard Global. The comments did what comments always do when the story is too clean to ignore. Self-made visionary remembers the co-founder's wrist, but not his fiancé. 5 postponed weddings and 1 Rolex. That is not a startup strategy. That is a confession. Imagine funding a man's empire and watching him buy another woman a vintage watch. Vanessa deleted the post. Screenshots made that useless. The next morning, I flew to Los Angeles. Not running. Running meant taking the first exit available. This was a rival. Vanguard Global's headquarters sat in a glass tower overlooking the city. All clean lines and quiet money. No founder posters in the lobby. No cult of personality. No framed quotes pretending sleep deprivation was a virtue. A senior executive met me upstairs. Adrian Cole. I had heard his name before. Head of strategy. Former crisis negotiator for companies that survived storms too. Expensive for amateurs. Come eyes silver. Cufflinks, a voice that did not try to fill every room. He shook my hand. Welcome to Vanguard Global, Serena. Thank you. He glanced at the contract. Folder in my hand. There's something I want clear before we begin. I waited. I don't need you to stand behind me. Serena, I hired you because I want you at the front. The sentence landed quietly. No fireworks, no dramatic music, just a door opening in a place inside me I had almost forgotten existed. I signed in the executive conference room with the LA skyline. Behind the glass, the pen moved smoothly. 5 years of almost wife, 1 signature into myself. 2 hours later, my public statement went out. Clean, short, professionally devastating. After careful consideration, the Lake Como wedding has been permanently canceled. I have ended personal and financial obligations connected to Julian Walker and the Walker family. I am grateful for past lessons and will be joining Vanguard Global as Global VP of Public Relations. I wish all parties professionalism going forward. No accusations, no tears, no names beyond. What mattered, that was what made reporters stay harder. Within 48 hours, business accounts began publishing what had once been hidden in plain sight. Serena's personal trust was linked to Julian's earliest bridge funding. Serena led crisis PR during the first security breach. Serena handled investor communications during the beta failure. Serena turned down Stanford GSB the same year Julian closed seed funding. Serena missed her father's final Thanksgiving while managing Julian's product meltdown. Serena's accounts covered recurring Walker family expenses, and Julian Walker, beloved self-made founder, had somehow never found the time to marry the woman holding up half his mythology. The self-made story began to peel. Not all at once. Prestige dies. Slowly. Then suddenly Julian called me. On the third day after my statement, I was in my new office, still half empty, reviewing Vanguard's crisis portfolio. Adrian had left a printed organizational map on my desk and a note. In the margin, change whatever makes no sense. I assume you will. I was smiling when Julian's name lit up my phone. I answered. His voice had lost its keynote polish. Serena, Julian, the story is getting out of control. That does happen. When you lose control, we need to issue a joint statement. No, listen to me. This is not just personal anymore. Investors are spooked. Vanessa is getting dragged into it. My family is being harassed. You told me I was always causing trouble. Congratulations. Julian. I stopped. Silence. Then lower. You're angry. I was angry last week. This week I'm busy. We can still talk. My lawyers can. Serena, don't do this. I looked at the LA skyline, bright and unfamiliar in mine. The wedding is canceled. The late Como contract is closed. The financial separation is in progress. I started Vanguard on Monday. You took a job with my competitor. I accepted a role with a company that knew my value before you noticed my absence. His breathing changed. You're trying to ruin me. No, I stopped fixing you. That ended the call. Chloe's collapse became almost theatrical. First came the rent warning from her LA building. Then the Tesla lease problem turned into a retrieval notice. Then her favorite delivery app suspended the account after repeated failed payments. The same friends who loved her brunch photo stopped tagging her once the comment sections filled with jokes. She tried to post a story about fake women who weaponize money. The internet found screenshots of her old posts within minutes. My brother spoils me because I'm the Walker princess. New tastes. Better when someone else pays. LA rent is insane, but luckily I'm not poor. She deleted those two. Too late. The nickname stuck. Borrowed card princess. Chloe sent one long apology. That was not an apology at all. Maybe I was harsh. But you know, I always saw you as family. I was stressed. Julian never told me things were so complicated. Can you just help with the rent until I figure things out? I did not answer. By the end of the month, Chloe moved out of the luxury building and into a much smaller apartment outside the neighborhood she used to mock. The Tesla disappeared from her grid. Her Soho house post stopped. So did the brunch photos. Being humbled looked less glamorous without filters. Carol held out longer. She tried refinancing the Hamptons house. She tried calling Julian. She tried calling old friends who had once praised her summer parties. The house that had made her feel old. Money rich became a stage for her humiliation. Agents came first, then appraisers, then potential buyers. Walking through the white room she used to show off on charity committees. I received one final call while reviewing Vanguard's launch plan. Her voice was brittle. The agent says, we need to accept the offer. That sounds practical. You're really going to let strangers buy the house where Julian spent his childhood summers. I did not spend my childhood summers there, Carol. I spent my adulthood paying for them. A sharp breath. I hope you are proud of yourself. I am. That seemed to wound her. More than anger. I thought you loved Julian. I did. Unfortunately, Chase Bank does not accept devotion as mortgage payment. The house sold below the fantasy price. Carol left the Hamptons with fewer friends, fewer parties, and no illusion that class could survive. Unpaid bills. Vanessa's Rolex became a liability. At first, she tried to dismiss it. It was a professional gift, she told an investor round table, smiling like the room owed her agreement. A board member asked whether accepting an expensive personal item from the CEO during a funding round showed judgment issues. Another asked whether Julian's personal decisions had compromised public trust. She stopped, smiling. The watch disappeared from her wrist after that, but absence can be louder than display. A reporter asked me about it during a private Vanguard reception, carefully enough to sound polite. Do you believe the Rolex was inappropriate? I took one sip of sparkling water. No, it was proof he remembered what he wanted to remember. The quote ran everywhere by morning. Vanessa called Julian furious. I did not hear the call, but one of Vanguard's analysts showed me the leaked summary from a source close to his board. Vanessa blamed him for making her look like a mistress. Julian blamed her for Posting the watch. She said he had. Promised Serena would never leave. He said she knew not to wear it publicly. They were both right. That was the ugliest part. Vanessa lost in Vestorf. Facing duties 2 weeks later. Officially, it was a temporary strategic adjustment. Unofficially, the board had decided the woman with the anniversary Rolex was not the person they wanted. Reassuring. Cautious capital. Julian Series B. Slowed, then stalled, then shrank. Investors do not like romance scandals. They hate governance questions. They fear a founder whose best crisis manager just joined the rival company. By the time Vanguard held its LA strategy summit, Julian's company was still standing, but it no longer looked inevitable. I walked on stage in a white suit and no engagement ring. The room was full of investors, journalists, executives, and competitors pretending not to measure one another's weaknesses. Julian sat 3 rows back. Vanessa was not beside him. Adrian introduced me. Simply, Serena, Global VP of Public Relations, no almost no fiancé, no invisible support, just my name and my title. I spoke about crisis, architecture, reputational debt, executive myth-making, and the danger of mistaking hidden labor for weakness. I did not name Julian once. I did not need to. During Q&A, a journalist raised her hand. Were you really behind Julian Walker's early PR success? A polite little murmur moved through the room. I looked straight into the lights. Behind? No. I was in front of every crisis. He was just better photographed. The room reacted before it could stop itself. A sharp inhale, a few low laughs, then applause. The clip went viral within the hour. Julian watched from the 3rd row, face pale under perfect stage lighting. While the myth he had built out of my silence collapsed in real time, he came to my LA apartment building 2 weeks later. Security called up first. Julian Walker is asking to see you. I almost said no. Then I looked at the repaired folder of legal separation papers on my desk and decided closure deserved a witness. Not for him, for me. We met in the lobby beneath a hanging light installation that made everyone under it look more honest than they wanted. Julian looked tired, still handsome, still expensive, still the man I had once imagined beside Lake Como in a dark tuxedo, but the shine no longer blinded me. We were supposed to get married. I looked at him carefully. No, Julian, I was supposed to marry you. You were supposed to keep postponing me until I became furniture. He flinched. I was under pressure. I know. I made mistakes. Yes, Vanessa meant nothing. That almost made me smile. The problem was never only Vanessa. His jaw tightened. You think this is easy for me? No. The answer stopped him. I know exactly how hard it is to lose a future you thought was yours. His eyes reamed. Then why are you doing this? Because you postponed the wedding 5 times. I am not postponing my life for the 6th. He stepped closer. Security shifted. Julian noticed and stopped. I can fix it. You cannot fix what you only value after it. Walks away. I love you. There it was 5 years late. Too small for the damage it was supposed to repair. I thought I would feel something stronger. Rage. Grief. Longing. Instead, I felt a calm. So deep it frightened me. No, Julian. You loved having me available. He looked at my bare hand. What about everything we built? You can keep the parts you noticed. I walked away before he could ask for more. The legal separation closed quietly. No public screaming, no dramatic hotel hallway, no last minute confession on a balcony. Just lawyers, signatures, wire confirmations canceled, authorizations, and a clean division of obligations that should never have been mine. The Lake Como wedding stayed canceled. The penalty was paid. The Walker family trust access remained closed. Chloe was removed from every card. Carol's house was sold. Julian could not claim my move to Vanguard was betrayal because he had never owned my career. He had only benefited from it. 5 years ended with less ceremony than one postponed wedding tasting. A single pen stroke. That was all. The Leica repair shop called on a Friday afternoon. I almost did not answer because I was reviewing a Vanguard press calendar, and old grief had a way of arriving at inconvenient times. The repair specialist's voice was gentle. We were able to restore the camera. Not perfectly. There are marks on the body, and one part had to be replaced, but it works. I picked it up the next morning. The Leica M3 lay in its case like something returned from war. The body still carried tiny scars where the fall had damaged it. The lens was clean. The A shutter moved smoothly. The leather smelled faintly of polish and time. I held it for a long while. My father had loved that camera. He used to say photos were not about trapping the past. They were proof you had stood somewhere and chosen to see. For years, I had imagined if photographing my wedding, the dress, the water, the ring, Julian smiling like a man who finally arrived. Instead, the first roll after repair captured the LA skyline from my office window, then the Vanguard lobby, then my reflection in the glass, alone, steady, and visible. Adrian found me there near sunset. He stopped a few steps away, not interrupting, not stepping into the frame. Does it work? I lowered the camera. Yes, good. He looked at the skyline, then back at me. Dinner? No. Pressure. No performance. Just food you actually want. I laughed softly. No. Yachts? No investor table. No family obligations. No man asking me to squeeze my heart into the space left after his ambition. Just food I actually wanted. Dinner sounds nice. His smile was quiet. I'll make the reservation under your name. That small choice said more than any grand gesture. I did not fall in love that night. I did something better. I let the future remain possible without handing it to anyone. 6 months later, Julian's series be closed at a fraction of the number he once bragged about. His board restructured the company. Vanessa returned the Rolex through legal counsel after 3 separate investors asked whether undisclosed executive gifts were part of the company culture. The watch disappeared into a safe or an auction house. Either way, it stopped being romantic. Chloe found a job in event sales and stopped posting luxury brunches. Carol moved into a smaller townhouse and told anyone who listened that the Hamptons were too much maintenance anyway. No one believed her, but people were kinder when she stopped pretending. Julian remained CEO, technically, but the title had lost weight. Every profile after that mentioned me. Every timeline included my name. Every article about his early rise carried the shadow he could no longer crop out. As for me, Vanguard gave me more than a title. It gave me space. A team that copied me on decisions before they became emergencies. An office with my name on the glass. A budget I did not have to beg for. A seat at the front. On the first anniversary of the canceled wedding, Kelly sent me a discreet email. Lake Co reoped the date after your cancellation. Another couple booked it. Thought you might like to know the venue. Ended up being used after all. I stared at the message for a while. Then I smiled. Good. Let someone stand there who actually wanted the day. I took the Leica to the beach that evening and photographed the water. Not Lake Co, not Manhattan, the Pacific, wide and restless, refusing to look like any dream I had once been sold. Adrian waited near the boardwalk with 2 coffees and no questions. I raised the camera. He did not pose. He simply stood there, letting me decide whether he belonged in the frame. For now, I photographed the ocean. That was enough. Julian postponed our wedding 5 times because he thought I would always wait. He was right about one thing. I did wait. I waited until every bill, every lie, every favor, and every borrowed dream had his name on it. Then I walked away and let him pay. For 5 years, I was his investor, his crisis manager, his credit line, and his almost wife. The day I stopped being invisible, Julian Walker finally learned what his empire looked like without me holding the lights on. The late Como wedding never happened. The Hamptons house did not survive. The Rolex stopped looking romantic, and I stopped being the woman behind Julian Walker's dream. I became the woman awake from my own. Did she go far enough, or was she still too merciful? You comment justice if the ending was perfect. Comment harder if you wanted an even colder revenge. Your comments decide how ruthless the next ending should be. Like and subscribe if you want to be here for the next